Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about running AlignerBot as a solo clinician across multiple design rounds. This is for the clinician who has stood up their own Cympha lab and runs AlignerBot on their own workstation. You're the case owner, the lab manager, and the agent operator, all at once with no other human in the loop. I'll assume you've already worked through the AlignerBot lab setup and your pairing is live. By the end, you'll know how the Phase 1, Phase 2 loop plays out when you wear all three hats yourself, why the structured artifact rule still applies even with nobody to enforce it on you, how the solo path compares with clear aligner AI, and the signals that say it's time to grow beyond solo. A real multi-round case typically clears 2 or 3 rounds in a single working day. Follow along, or listen now and read later. Let's put the hats on. First, a structural note that saves a lot of confusion. Cympha accounts hold exactly one role, set once at sign-up. There is no single account that is simultaneously clinician, lab manager, and AlignerBot seat. So, wearing every hat means, in practice, that you control each of the accounts involved. The clinician account that submits the case, the lab manager account that runs the lab, and the AlignerBot seat account that the agent manager on your workstation is paired to. That might sound like overhead, but it's what makes the solo setup honest. Every handoff in the pipeline still happens, still gets logged, still sends its emails. You're just on both ends of each one. And it means everything in this lecture reads the same no matter how you've split the accounts. When I say as clinician or as lab manager, I mean whichever of your accounts holds that role. The checklist before the first case. 1. A Cympha lab you control with an AlignerBot seat on the team. That seat is the account whose assignments wake the bot. 2. A Windows workstation with Guide Mia Ortho Plus installed and activated, and the Cympha Agent Manager installed and paired to the AlignerBot seat's Cympha email. The agent should show as paired right now before you start. If any of that is unfamiliar, stop here and work through the AlignerBot lab setup lecture and the pairing guide first. Today builds on both. 3. A way to make refinement artifacts. Either Cympha Studio's 3D Review, which exports an XML tooth position file from the plan and runs in the browser, or Ortho Plus itself, which saves a transfer pack. As a solo operator, you conveniently already have Ortho Plus, so both paths are open to you. 4. A confirmed scan set for the patient. Before the mechanics, the why, because there's a lighter alternative. Clear Aligner AI gives you the same Ortho Plus Phase 1, Phase 2 cascade with no desktop install at all. It runs on the central service, 1 credit per case, and you own nothing. Running AlignerBot in your own lab is the heaviest path on the platform. You host the workstation, you own the Ortho Plus seat, you run the agent. What you get back? No per case credit, because you've already paid for the seat. The case files living on your own machine as well as in the cloud, your own lab's branding on the case, and the option to bring colleagues into the same lab later. The solo clinician sits in between the two worlds. You bought the seat because you want full control, but you don't yet have a designer or a second clinician on staff. And Cympha doesn't penalize you for that. The same roles and the same case lifecycle work whether your lab has 1 user or 20. Here's a typical day, round 1. As clinician, submit the case at the new case page. Search for your own lab, choose the AlignerBot category, fill in the patient details and the planning parameters, attach the upper and lower scans, submit. As lab manager, open the case. It's sitting at submitted, held by you. Move it to designing. The status control previews who will receive it, and with the AlignerBot seat on the team, it routes there. As AlignerBot operator, you don't need to click anything at all. The agent on your workstation polls every 20 seconds, sees a case held by its paired user, claims the dispatch lock, downloads the scans into the workspace case folder, and launches Ortho Plus in planning mode. Ortho Plus runs Phase 1. The agent uploads the review file automatically, and because a review file arriving via the agent requests approval by itself, the case lands at awaiting approval with the plan approval pending label. An email arrives. As clinician, open the approval page and review the plan in Studio. You're at a fork. Take a second to notice what's unusual about this review moment. In the lab-mediated world, the clinician reviews a plan that someone else's infrastructure produced. Here, the staging on your screen came off the workstation humming away in the next room. Your seat, your engine, your files, and a copy of everything sitting in your own workspace folder. Nothing about the review itself changes. You orbit the staged positions, check the attachments, judge the plan exactly, as any clinician would. But the decision you're about to make routes right back to your own machine. Approve, and your workstation starts building appliances. Request changes, and your workstation replans. Both forks are next, and the second one has the rule, everybody trips on once. Fork 1. The plan looks right, and you approve it on the approval page. The case auto-advances, the status briefly hits approved, then flips straight back to designing as the next cycle begins. No routing click needed this time. The same seat still holds it. On its next poll, the agent claims the case again, and OrthoPlus runs the Phase 2 cascade, generating per-stage aligner shells or arch models or bracket guides, depending on the design kind you set at intake. When Phase 2 finishes, a second email arrives, and the case now carries the appliance approval pending label. Review the appliance files, approve, and the case advances to delivered. Submit, 1 routing click, 2 approvals. That's every human action a clean solo case needs. The doc calls this the 2-round happy path, and most cases finish exactly here. Fork 2. The plan needs work. Click Request Changes instead of Approve, and a confirmation dialog opens, with its Confirm button disabled. It stays disabled until a file with the right extension, an XML or a transfer pack, is attached to the case. An amber notice spells out the 2 paths. Path 1. Open the review file in Cympha Studio's 3D Review, edit the tooth positions right there, export the XML, upload it to the case, return to the approval page, and confirm. Path 2, and as a solo operator you're one of the few who can always take it. Open the case in OrthoPlus on your own workstation, make the edits with a full planner, save the transfer pack, upload, confirm. Either way, once confirmed the case flips to changes requested. The agent's next poll claims a fresh lock and redispatches OrthoPlus in planning mode with your artifact applied. Phase 1 runs again, your edits baked in, and the case returns to awaiting approval. You're back at the fork, approve or refine again. Here's the trap built specially for solo operators. You may be tempted to think, I'm the lab manager too, I can just chat the changes to myself and handle it. That doesn't work, and it's worth understanding why. The artifact requirement isn't a policy gate protecting some other party, it's a technical one. The OrthoPlus planning cascade has no English parser. A typed instruction like move that tooth buccally has no input slot to land in. There is simply no place in the pipeline where prose becomes planning input. The XML and the transfer pack exist because they're the 2 structured formats the engine actually consumes. One consolation from the doc: if your case chat already has typed change requests from before you learn this, those messages aren't invalid. They live on in the case history as context. They're just not actionable inputs. The artifact you eventually upload is what drives the next dispatch. Zoom out, and the whole case is just 2 gates. The plan gate after Phase 1 and the appliance gate after Phase 2 both have to be approved for the case to deliver, and either can be cycled independently. You can refine Phase 1 3 times, approve, and then ship Phase 2 on the first try, or approve Phase 1 cleanly and refine Phase 2 twice. Both patterns are normal, and the structured artifact rule applies at both gates. A change request on the appliance review needs an XML or transfer pack, just like the plan review does. As for how many rounds to expect, 1 round, approve, is the rare clean case. 2 to 3 rounds is typical. 1 Phase 1 refinement to fix a staging quirk, then straight through. And 4 or more rounds is usually a message, not a workflow. It means the intake parameters need rethinking. At that point, consider abandoning the case and submitting fresh with adjusted planning parameters rather than refining forever. With the loop mechanics fresh, the side-by-side comparison from the doc lands better. Where the engine runs, ClearAligner AI uses Cympha's central design service. Your lab uses your own Windows workstation. Per case cost, ClearAligner AI charges 1 credit on the first self-approve, with refinements free. Your lab charges nothing per case because you bought the OrthoPlus seat. Where files live, ClearAligner AI keeps everything in the Cympha cloud. Your lab keeps the cloud copy plus a local copy in your workspace folder. Setup effort, essentially 0 for ClearAligner AI, just sign in, versus the full install activate pair sequence for your lab. Lab branding, none versus yours. And the growth path, ClearAligner AI is single clinician by design, while your own lab can take on team members whenever you're ready. The doc offers a useful heuristic for choosing. At a steady, ongoing caseload, the math leans toward owning the lab. For occasional cases, ClearAligner AI is the lighter lift. The solo model has a ceiling, 3 signals you've hit it. Signal 1. Approvals bottleneck on you. If another clinician at your practice is already submitting cases to your lab, you're a lab manager in real terms. Let them submit and approve their own cases while you keep the manager and operator side. That's a clean split. Signal 2. OrthoPlus is busy when you want to be reviewing. Phase 2 dispatches can take a while. If you're waiting on one case's engine run before you can review another, hire or contract a designer with their own OrthoPlus seat. Assign on the queue, their agent manager dispatches their workstation independently. Signal 3, you want to take vacation. A solo lab stops when its operator stops. Continuous coverage needs a second user who can pick up cases. The migration is non-disruptive. The new person signs up with the right role, designer, or AlignerBot for another bot seat, naming you as lab manager. You approve them on my team and start assigning. Mid-flight cases stay where they are. 7 things stick, and I'll split them across 2 slides so each gets a real answer. This first group is about the engine not running. Number 1. The case reached designing, but Ortho Plus never opened. 2 checks in order. First, check the agent on the workstation is paired. That's the cheap check. If it is paired, then check my team, because the case must be held by the AlignerBot seat specifically, not by a plain designer. The agent activates only for AlignerBot seat assignments, and a case parked with a designer account will sit in designing indefinitely, looking perfectly healthy. Number 2. The agent is clearly polling, but your case stays in designing forever. Open the case detail page and look at the files panel. Are the scans fully uploaded? Or are some of them stuck pending? An incomplete upload leaves Ortho Plus erroring out on missing geometry. It dispatches, it fails, and nothing visible comes back. Re-upload any pending files, then click Rerun Design on the case page to trigger a fresh dispatch. Number 3. The Request Changes Confirm button is grayed out. This is exactly the same rule as in ClearAligner AI. No XML and no transfer pack is attached to the case yet. Cancel the dialog, upload one, and come back. And to say it once more, because as a solo operator you'll be tempted, free text changes typed into the chat do not count. And the second group, the case not moving. Number 4. Phase 2 doesn't dispatch after you approve Phase 1. The agent has to see the case held by the AlignerBot seat, so check 2 things. 1. That the case is still with the AlignerBot seat. Look at the holder on the case page. 2. That the agent on the workstation hosting it is paired. If both of those are fine and dispatch still hasn't happened after a few minutes, here's the recovery. Quit the agent from its tray menu, relaunch it, and then use Rerun Design. That's worth knowing in detail because Rerun Design also force clears a stale dispatch lock, which means you are never permanently stuck behind a workstation that died mid-run. Number 5. You want to refine, but the case is already delivered. A delivered digital case no longer accepts file uploads, so the refinement loop on it is genuinely closed. To run another round on the same patient, submit a new case from the latest scans. That said, delivered isn't an archive. The case keeps its holder for follow-ups until the lab manager clicks mark as finished. Number 6. Your case is escalated and stuck. Solo labs don't really have an escalation target because the lab manager account is also yours. If you, acting as clinician, clicked escalate to lab manager by mistake, put on the lab manager hat, open the case and move it back to designing so it routes to the AlignerBot seat again, and use Rerun Design if the agent doesn't pick it up on its own. And number 7, which you already heard, type change requests sitting in the case chat from before you learn the artifact rule aren't invalid, they're just not actionable. They stay as context, the artifact drives the dispatch. That's the solo loop. Submit as clinician, route as lab manager, let the agent and the engine do the designing and approve, or refine with a structured artifact, until both gates are cleared. The whole thing runs on your own machine, on the seat you already own, with no per-case charges and no one to wait for. And when the caseload outgrows one pair of hands, the migration path is 1 sign-up and 1 approval away. The written guide carries the full comparison table, the round count guidance, and every troubleshooting entry from today. It also links to the guides on either side of it. Set up AlignerBot for your lab and install and pair Cympha Agent Manager for the foundation. AlignerBot Phase 1 to Phase 2 for the same pipeline with a full team around it. Approve or request changes on a lab's design for the review page. Use ClearAligner AI Direct and multiple design rounds in ClearAligner AI for the lighter alternative. And assign a case to a designer plus team and roles. For the day you stop being solo. There's a case status glossary as well. Find the written playbook at cympha.com. Open Docs and look for Run AlignerBot as a solo clinician across multiple design rounds. It links back to the lab setup, pairing, and Phase 1 to Phase 2 guides whenever you need the deeper detail. If this series is earning its place in your feed, subscribe every Cympha workflow, one lecture at a time. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.